Possum Patty here, and I'm nature journaling. It's April 15th. It's very sunny outside and the temperature is in the 50s. I'm continuing some ideas that I had yesterday when I found all these treasures and started putting them in the journal. One of them was about this sedge that I found. And I discovered this Carex pennsylvania, or Pennsylvania sedge. And that is, sedges have edges, rushes are round, grass have nodes from the top to the ground. So when you go walking in the woods, you see a lot of plants that look like little tufts of grass. But some of them are sedges, and some of them are rushes, and some of them are truly grass. So how do you tell them apart? So what I did today, I took a short walk in the woods and I found a piece of grass. It's an old stalk from last year, but I could actually see the nodes going from the top to the ground. So that's one way to identify the grass. I remember the rush that I saw out in the clearing, and it was just round and green and smooth. New shoots coming up. I don't know what this is. Might be a rush, because rushes are round, and the stem on that is very round. While I was looking at the sedges, the Pennsylvania sedge that I saw the other day, I saw a new sedge. It was growing in clumps around a tree base. Little bits of green coming up everywhere in the floor of the woods. So I'm going to go check these things out. I'm going to head off in this direction today. Very peaceful out here today. I hear a mourning dove. I hear some of those little sedges that I looked at yesterday. Oh, what's this? Oh, this is a different one. Different sedge. I'll have to look at that. So I brought that one in and sketched it here. The top of the part looked very different than the one I saw the other day. Kind of had a stalk with one bit up here, another bit in between a leaf and a stalk, and then some hanging ones over here. So this must be an easy way to identify this, even though I haven't identified it yet. One thing about these little Carex sedges is that they don't have that triangle shape on the stem. They're round or have different shapes, but not that defining triangle shape. And when I looked it up in the Plants of Pennsylvania, I went to the back and looked at Carex, and there were one column, two columns, three columns. I added them up, 168 Carexes in this book alone. Online, I learned that I guess there's like 200 or 300 different kinds that grow in this country. So no wonder I haven't figured out what this one, the name of this one was yet. But I did learn some more about sedges. And one is that you identify the sedges not by the leaves, but by these reproductive parts. A few interesting things I read in Field Guide to the Carex of New England by Lisa A. Stanley were that they were mostly wind-pollinated, and that the seeds can be dispersed by the wind or the water depending on their shape. But the most interesting part was this antidispersal story. This is called myrmecochory. The entire perigonum, or even around the base of the perigonum, can be some soft tissue covering. It could be colored or it could be white. And this soft tissue is eaten by the ants. But the ants take the entire perigonum to their nest. They eat the tasty soft tissue, but not the part where the seed is. So they throw that part in their trash heap where it's left to sprout. And I wrote some notes down about the red maple tree that I had been looking at yesterday. Well, first I drew the female flower because I had been searching for that. The red maple is also called the swamp maple, and it's the most abundant tree in northeastern America. And this is probably because it's common in young forests after human disturbance, and there's very few old growth forests left in our area. The tree can grow up to 100 feet tall, and it can be used for maple syrup, and the maple syrup is of a good quality, but it must be tapped before the buds open. It's the state tree of Rhode Island, but it's very toxic to horses. So I took a little walk. I didn't get far from the house, but I wanted to note what I had discovered. The rocks in this area represent the sand mound or the septic system. I noted the north corner of the house so I would know where to go find these again. I put down fiddleheads are fun, but unfurling is comical, as I noted that the fiddleheads were starting to stretch out and unfurl and looking pretty silly. There are beautiful white wildflowers growing on the floor of the woods. These are wood anemones, or anemone cinquifolia. This one had 5 petals. Stamens are in the middle. It has a whorl of 3 leaves, and each leaf is trifoliate. That means it has 3 leaflets. Very pretty, very delicate looking. Oh, look. Little white flowers. What are these? I should know what these are. Wood anemones, I'll look them up. Around the trunk of a tree, I saw many tufts or clumps of a carrick sedge. Sedges are all around the base of this tree. And when I looked it up, I learned that these tufts are called crespitose. When it forms these tufts, that's crespitose. And of course, there were many Canada mayflowers growing everywhere. And then by an old stump, I discovered the hiding place of the fairy that had been moving my pansies across the lawn. Ah, there's the fairy that's been moving the pansies around. It was quite a busy day learning about rushes and grasses and sedges. I still have tons more to learn, but little by little I can identify what's in the yard. I wrote down my notes from the red maple tree. I took a short walk and noted some of the things that were growing and blooming. Thanks for coming along today. Bye-bye.